А сирийцами, вот у меня в томе написано целый том про борьбу с сирийской мафией. А сирийской мафией связался. Крысы полезли, а те сирийские, когда полезли.
Я не задумывался об этом встрече, как-то не задумывался я. Описать, если мои все муки, я все круги ада уже прошел, я уже был. Это вот эти...
Russian prisons have a reputation for being seriously tough, but there's one prison which stands out amongst the worst of the worst, and not shockingly, it's home to inmates whose slaying toll totals to about 3,500 unfortunate people. At Sol-Iletsk, Orenburg Oblast, Russia, there's a high-security prison called the Black Dolphin Prison, commonly referred to as Prison Number 6. It is regarded as one of Russia's most hazardous prisons, and was built to accommodate the nation's most violent and dangerous inmates. Today, we shall examine the history and reputation of the Black Dolphin Prison, its stringent policies and high levels of security, as well as the controversy and criticism that plagues it, not to forget the most dangerous prisoners it has housed over the years. History of Black Dolphin. The Black Dolphin Prison was built in 2002 in response to the increasing problem of organized crime and violence in Russia during the 1990s. The government decided to build a high-security prison that could hold the most dangerous and violent criminals in the country and prevent them from committing further crimes. The construction of the Black Dolphin Prison was part of a larger effort by the Russian government to reform the country's prison system. The goal was to improve conditions and reduce corruption in the prison system, which had long been plagued by human rights violations and bone-chilling violence. The prison was built to the highest security standards, with advanced surveillance technology, heavily armed guards, and a strict regime. Inmates are subjected to a regimented routine with little opportunity for social interaction or communication with the outside world. They are kept in small cells with minimal furniture and are allowed only limited access to exercise and recreation. They are required to wear uniforms at all times and are forbidden from having any personal belongings, inclusive of books or photographs. The Black Dolphin Prison has a unique design, with multiple levels of security. The most dangerous and violent inmates are housed in the Red Zone, where they are kept in individual cells and are under constant surveillance. Maligned reputation. The Black Dolphin Prison has gained a reputation as one of the most dangerous prisons in Russia due to its strict regime and high security measures. Inmates are subjected to a harsh and oppressive environment that can lead to mental health issues, such as depression, anxiety, and even self-hurt. The prison is known for its brutal treatment of inmates, including beatings, torture, and solitary confinement. Inmates have reported instances of guards using electric shock and other forms of physical force to maintain control over the prisoners. The prison's strict regime and high security measures have been criticized by human rights groups who argue that they are excessive and violate international human rights standards. The prison has been the subject of numerous complaints and lawsuits over the years, with inmates and their families claiming that their rights have been violated. Let's not forget the conditions inside the Black Dolphin Prison. They are notoriously harsh and are designed to prevent inmates from committing even the smallest of crimes. The strict regime is intended to prevent prisoners from communicating with each other and to prevent the spread of violence or criminal activity within the prison. Inmates are closely monitored by prison guards who use video surveillance and other monitoring techniques to ensure that they do not break the rules or attempt to escape. When inmates leave their cells, they are made to walk bent at the waist. This technique is believed to be unique to Black Dolphin and is believed to be a tactic allowing for maximum control while depriving the inmate of a view of his immediate surroundings, preventing them from escaping or attacking. They are also blindfolded when they walk outside of their cell. This is to ensure that prisoners do not have a good understanding of the prison layout. Inmates have also reported instances of poor medical care and unsanitary conditions. On top of these horrors, there is no prison yard, and exercise consists of pacing back and forth in another cell, the duration of which the guards utilize to inspect the cells of inmates for contraband and any prohibited material. Hot controversies. Despite its reputation as one of the most dangerous prisons in Russia, the Black Dolphin Prison has also been the subject of controversy and criticism over the years. There have been several high-profile cases of prisoners being released after serving long sentences for crimes they did not commit. In 2009, Alexander Fedulov was released after serving 15 years in the Black Dolphin prison for a slaying he did not commit. Fedulov had been subjected to beatings and other forms of torture during his time there. His story led to widespread protests and calls for reforms. In 2010, Andrei Chikatilo, another serial criminal who has been imprisoned at the Black Dolphin prison, was posthumously cleared of some of the charges against him. Chikatilo had been accused of slaying dozens of people during the 1970s and 80s, and his case has been one of the most high-profile ones in Russian history. Apart from self-declarations, this prison has also been criticized for its high rate of inmate self-slaying and self-harm. In 2016, the Russian Human Rights Commissioner reported that there had been 16 self-hurt cases and 220 self-hurt attempts in the Black Dolphin prison since it opened in 2002. Therefore, it comes as no surprise that human rights groups have forever been calling for reforms to improve conditions and ensure that inmates are treated humanely, at the very least. However, despite the controversies surrounding the Black Dolphin prison, Russian authorities have continued to defend its operations. The authorities argued that the prison is necessary to house the most dangerous and violent criminals in the country, and that the strict regime is necessary to prevent them from committing further crimes. Dangerous prisoners held in Black Dolphin prison. Number 1. Chessboard Slayer. The Black Dolphin prison in Russia has housed some of the country's most dangerous and violent criminals, including several serial criminals. One such slayer is Alexander Pichushkin, also known as the Chessboard Slayer. Pichushkin was arrested in 2006 and confessed to slaying 49 people between 1992 and 2006 in Moscow's Bitsevsky Park. He targeted homeless men and women, luring them into the park with the promise of alcohol and then bludgeoning them to a bloody demise with a hammer. Pichushkin claimed to have slayed one person for each square on a chessboard and had been trying to complete the 64-square board. After his arrest, Pichushkin was tried and convicted of 49 slayings, making him one of Russia's most prolific serial criminals. He was sentenced to life imprisonment in a high-security facility, with the first 15 years to be served in solitary confinement at the Black Dolphin prison. Pichushkin's transfer to the Black Dolphin prison was highly publicized in Russia, with many people calling for him to be sent to the gallows. However, the authorities defended the decision, stating that the prison was the only place in the country that could ensure his safety and prevent him from committing further crimes. At the Black Dolphin prison, Pichushkin was subjected to a strict regime, with limited access to exercise and recreation. He was closely monitored by guards and was not allowed to communicate with other inmates. These conditions were said to be put in place to ensure the safety of prison staff and other inmates, as well as that of Pichushkin himself. In 2011, it was reported that Pichushkin had been transferred to another high-security prison in Russia. The reason for the transfer were not disclosed, but it is likely that it was related to his health or behavior while in custody. The case of Alexander Pichushkin highlights the severity of the crimes committed by some of the inmates at the Black Dolphin prison. Number 2. Rostov Ripper. Andrei Chikatilo, also known as the Rostov Ripper, was one of the most notorious serial criminals in Russian history. Born in 1936 in Ukraine, Chikatilo had a troubled childhood, with his father being taken away by Soviet authorities and his mother being left to raise him and his siblings alone. Chikatilo himself had a speech impediment and was often ridiculed by his classmates, which only added to his feelings of alienation and anger. Chikatilo's first known slaying occurred in 1978, when he lured a 9-year-old girl into a forest, where he physically attacked and slayed her. Over the next 12 years, Chikatilo continued to prey on young girls, boys, and women, slaying a total of 52 people by 1990. Chikatilo's victims were often poor and vulnerable, and he would lure them to secluded areas before attacking them. His slayings were particularly brutal, and he would often mutilate and cannibalize his victims after brutally taking their lives. Chikatilo was able to evade police for many years by moving around the country and changing his methods, but he was eventually caught in 1990 when he was caught trying to abduct a young girl. After his arrest, Chikatilo was put on trial in 1992, where he was found guilty of 52 counts of slayings and was sentenced to the gallows.
А сирийцами, вот у меня в томе написано целый том про борьбу с сирийской мафией. А сирийской мафией связался. Крысы полезли, а те сирийские, когда полезли.
Я сколько мук пережил я уже, если я в моем положении, мне всегда вот спрашивали меня в суде сербского, описать эти мои все муки. Я все круги ада уже прошел, я уже был. Травли, эти все преследования, что меня травили, меня это самое, всю жизнь меня.
He met the Angel of Demise through a firing squad in 1994, but his legacy lives on as one of the most heinous serial criminals in Russian history. Due to the severity and brutality of his crimes, it comes as no shock that Chikatilo was sent to the Black Dolphin prison in Russia. While there, Chikatilo was held in a special cell and closely monitored by guards, who were concerned about his mental state and potential for violence. Despite these measures, Chikatilo was able to commit a number of self-hurt incidents while in prison, which only added to his infamy and notoriety.
В суде мне задавали, говорит, что вопрос, что не повесился. Стандартный человек мог бы, должен быть спиться. Приключилось, как сейчас вот пишут профессора, это вот. И об меня ноги вытирали, не считали меня за человека везде. Или повеситься, почему вы не повесились в этом духе. А со мной вот это вот, стрессы, вот эти все, эти...
Number 3. Angarsk Maniac. Mikhail Popkov, also known as the Angarsk Maniac, was a Russian serial criminal who slayed at least 78 women between 1992 and 2007. Popkov was born in 1964 in the Soviet Union and joined the police force in 1985. He was known to be a diligent and effective officer and was respected by his colleagues. Popkov's first known slaying occurred in 1992 when he picked up a young woman who was walking home from a nightclub. He drove her to a secluded area, physically attacked her, and then took her life. Over the next 15 years, Popkov continued to target women, luring them into his car and then slaying them. His victims were often body workers or women who were out late at night, and he would use his police uniform to gain their trust. Popkov was eventually caught in 2012 when DNA evidence linked him to several of the slaying. He confessed to the crimes and was found guilty of 78 counts of slaying in 2015. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole and was sent, drum rolls, to the Black Dolphin prison in Russia. At the Black Dolphin prison, Popkov was held in a special cell and closely monitored by guards. He was also considered to be one of the most dangerous inmates in the prison due to the severity and brutality of his crimes. Despite this, Popkov was known to be a model prisoner, and he was allowed to work in the prison sewing shop, where he made clothes for other inmates. Despite the apparent calmness of Popkov in prison, the Russian authorities maintain that it is necessary to house dangerous criminals like him in high-security prisons like the Black Dolphin to protect society from their potential for violence. That's all for this video, folks. See you another time.